Live streaming. And hello, everyone. This is Michelle Oliver, and I'm here with Pete Ambrosino. And we come together every Friday morning to talk about coaching. And we're thinking of it as the raw and real behind the scenes, like what really goes on when we're coaching, because Pete works as a business coach. I work with women in midlife. We both do a lot of things, but this is something that is really dear to our hearts and important. And we want to serve all of you to share with you some coaching tips, right?
Exactly. You totally got it. And you know what's interesting, we always spend some time, and we always talk about this in the beginning, talking
like
about
an hour, like an hour.
Right. We should have pressed record an hour ago because it was so good. So we try to overcomplicate what we're going to talk about, but then what happens is we see how different things that are going on in our clients' life, in our own business ventures. Because I mean, I'm a business. I have 4 other businesses. Michelle, I know, is doing a bunch of other things. So it's not only that we coach, but we have to practice what we preach. And we were talking, I came today thinking, okay, we all experience peaks and valleys in business, and those peaks and valleys can be, interpreted in so many different ways. And my way of interpreting it when I first started talking to Michelle earlier was, about, sales and revenue going up and down and whatever's going on in the economy right now affecting it. And she dialed it right into how it's all controllable by the way we treat our employees. And when we were talking last week about having maybe a toxic employee and how that can, act as a cancer in our business, whereas when we focus on filling them up, it can flatten out those peaks and valleys, because you're filling up your employees so much that they're taking care of that up and down, and they're flattening it out for you, and you didn't have to do a thing about it. Does that about sum up what we just talked? I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, it sounds like a magic wand. It kind of is. I guess I think it all boils down to perspective and vision, because as you were speaking, I was thinking it's just like a relationship. Like I think of it, because I'm a mother first, I guess. In a relationship with your children or with anyone that you really love, business is no different. It's like, I have a vision of something I want to create, right? It is a love story for me, which is, by the way, why I love February, because I get to talk about being in love with business. But you're so committed to the vision of why you're doing it, or like why I love this person, or like this is my child, that means everything. And everything else is inconsequential. Like you just figure it out on the way. So if you're looking from a perspective of vision or love or whatever you want to call it, then the peaks and valleys are down there. And it's inevitable that everything is going to be raised up into the vision. It's just like, what is going on today? It's just like, this is what we're going through, the all things have come to pass kind of perspective, right? Yeah. So you're not like, okay, you're in, you're out, you're producing, you're not. And our employees can't think that way either. That kind of self-talk will destroy you, right?
No, it's true. It's reminding them and being there for them that resets that whole cycle and brings it back into the right focus and the right, expensive energy. And that's what makes it fun, because now it's all about taking care of them first and filling their cup up. And, what can I appreciate about them today, and getting them out of, I don't want to say the rat race, but getting them out of the to-do list of their position and getting them into the why list, right? And whose lives do I get to affect today in this role in this company? And it's super important. I mean, and it's a great way to kind of come back to what we were talking about last week. it's a great way to find a misalignment if you're in somebody's world and you're helping them in their personal goals as they don't align with your company. They might just figure it out. And they might just say, hey, I'm going to just disqualify myself, or I'm going to include myself in this because this is great. I've never worked in a place like this before. And I need to and push forward because, hey, Michelle has my back and she's watching out for me. And I have to take care of our customers and clients and people we love. Super
Yeah,
neat.
I mean, I think that business is made up of human beings, right? So we're not hiring robots. And when we bring people on, we're not bringing them into a box. We're bringing them into a vision, a possibility. And if that, it depends on who you are and how you're driven, right? But like for me, it's always about vision. Always, like, this is what I'm creating. It's a creative process, right? So everyone that comes on board, I want to know why what their vision is, their personal vision, who they are, what they want.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this last week and we were talking about this earlier, that you can't serve the greater humanity if you're not serving your staff. Like, they need to know that they can accomplish their dreams by association with you. We were talking about hospitality earlier, right? And I kept saying it's this spiritual thing where you really are, like, you have to be in a place of generosity in order to give a smile, even, or even be aware of someone else's needs. You have to have your own needs somewhat. You have to be somewhere pretty high on that who was like a Maslow or whatever, the hierarchy of needs. You can't be like, oh my God, I can't feed myself, or I can't, I have no shelter. So in order to be hospitable or gracious, you have to be in a space of generosity. And the way I see it is, the more we can help our employees and staff get their needs met, not just their basic needs, but their dreams, help them progress. Because as you know, it's always about progression. Like, what makes people happy is that feeling of, oh, I'm getting there, I'm moving forward, I'm getting better, I'm growing. So the more we can provide that for our staff and employees, then the more they are going to be filled up and they want to serve. And then we're not like motivating them, through punishment or review or whatever.
Yeah, that all that goes away, because now it's about, the questions become more engaging and more, not about them or being attacked or anything like that. And what's interesting, I just had the pleasure of being at an event where Mr. Dan Cathay was a speaker and being interviewed, and he's the founders, one of the sons of the founders of Chick-fil-A. And they employ, I don't know, almost 250,000 people, and what was most important to him about his company was what they teach the staff and the kids that work for them.
Exactly.
I'm going to teach, he said it himself. He's like, I'm going to teach your kid to be polite, make eye contact, be caring, have compassion, have character, and all what's all important about that. And I was like, man, what an amazing, it's like, no wonder that what the average franchise has like 150 people working for him, and it's like, you don't go to a McDonald's and see that much staff there, because there's not. So it's interesting that the dynamic between that. I forgot to mention that to you because it tied in exactly to what we were talking about investing in your people.
Absolutely. I love Chick-fil-A. I mean, not their food, but I don't eat their food, but I used to go there all the time when my kids were younger and we, would eat that food. And yeah, it's my pleasure. That's hospitality.
That's
Dutch
yeah.
Dutch Brothers is the same thing. And this is how I trained when I had the restaurant music venue, it was the same thing where it boils down to, well, go look at my last post. I'm like, when was the last time you felt appreciated, you felt cared for, you experienced courtesy, graciousness, gallantry? Like that's why etiquette and manners were developed, not to exclude people, but to help people feel valuable.
Sure.
When you feel seen, heard, understood, cared about, guess how much better you will perform.
Yeah. And it's
learn to be generous.
Sure. And there's a big difference between going into a convenience store, walking up to a computer screen, typing in your sandwich order, and then going and checking out yourself with the little tab. And you don't even have to, you can go to a self-checkout in a convenience store now, not even talk to anybody. It's like, why is that good right now? You know what I mean? It's just, it's mind-boggling how we're taking the human connection away in some cases, but then the ones that are super successful are embracing the human connection and the relationship and the connection and the love and the caring. And that's where that's it cannot go away. It can't be replaced by a bot or a screen or a AI voice that's talking to you over the and we're in the restaurant business, but over the drive-through. Because have you ever talked to an AI voice at a drive-through, like at Checkers? You don't go to Checkers, and I don't go to Checkers either.
Know what that I have never heard.
Don't even. Yeah, I don't even want to admit that I even went through that.
I don't even know what it is. I guess whatever. It's like like a Chick-fil-A bad version of a Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, it's not good for you food.
Okay.
But it's just interesting that they have that ability.
AI. Oh, wow. It's terrible.
It's crazy.
Dutch Brothers is so good at that too. They are on par with, if not above, Chick-fil-A in their training. They are so great. Yeah. And so I can't help mentioning the company that I just launched, because that's what we are about. Expitality is just about that.
Yeah.
Exactly about that. And the thing is, part of our brand is really being completely whatever's happening in the moment, like when you see like the videos that I'm doing with people, it will be, the lighting's not perfect, nothing. It's like, really, I know authenticity is kind of a buzzword right now. And, but what it is prioritizing the conversation and the interaction with another human being over the conditions or circumstances that exist. So, you're going to see not the perfect anything, but what is perfect within that is the connection and the truth telling that goes on. So to me, the essence of everything service oriented and in hospitality or out, hospitality is just who you are. It's like, how do I treat another human? How do you feel after you've been with me? That's what it is. Have I uplifted someone? Yeah. And so I know I mentioned this earlier.
People remember the experience versus anything else that might have happened.
Yes.
If you affected my experience, if you lit me up, made me laugh, made me smile, just whatever was happening in my emotional bank account at that point, and you made a deposit into it, I'm not going to forget it. And it's true in any single business, every business, it has to be there.
And when you're talking about peaks and valleys,
yeah,
this is what people are looking for. someone to raise them out of being a victim to peaks and valleys of conditions, circumstances, situations, emotions, whatever it is,
Sure.
the things that we can't control. And most people, employees, owners, people, human beings, they feel that they can't control the emotion, the doubt, the fear, the longing, the wanting, the wishing, the regret, whatever it is,
Well, and that comes back to the people that we're around the most. If we're around people that fill us up and build us and want, celebrate our success, that's where we get to fill back up again. Because I started off thinking, hey, maybe we should talk about peaks and valleys in sales and revenue. And it all tied back into, sometimes when we hit a dip in revenue, it takes so long for us to just get to that point and say, hey, you know what? I really need to learn from this right now. Whereas if we get there earlier and we find out how can we address what's going on inside us first, because that might be the first place that's going to have the massive impact on what's going on. Don't know, but I certainly agree with you that the emotional bank account has to be taken in consideration first, because the other stuff, if I take care of your emotions and if I take care of your being first, the answer will come with the challenge that's coming in, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it comes back to perspective and vision, because vision, if you really are just in love with that vision, and you can see it, feel it, taste it, know it in your mind and your heart, then your perspective is always from that, not from the obstacles, or it's like you just are assured. That's the faith. Like, you have to know that this is what you're doing. And so I think it's always, and also we are internal, external, like it's a holistic thing that we're involved in, this life thing. Right? So we can't really separate them out, but I do believe that perspective, a shift of perception, allows us to be full and generous, rather than, like, if we're looking at just like up and down revenue, like that's a very static kind of, like, I know up and down isn't static, but it's a static way of thinking, in that you're not looking at the possibility, you're looking at the limitation. So when you were earlier saying like sales revenue up and down, my thought immediately went to, well, if I'm tied to the vision, I'm always thinking about additional revenue sources. I'm always thinking about the abundant way that I can serve other people. So I'm never going to be in a position where I'm like, oh, this is what we were relying on, and now it's down here. No, there's always more ways to serve and expand and build momentum. And
I see where you're going. It's like it changes the internal question of what I'm focusing on right now, because it's like, okay, if I'm seeing this dip, it's probably a reflection of the way I'm serving, and maybe I need to do more for my client that I'm not aware of right now. That's what creates the real question that we need to be asking ourselves, right?
It's totally. Limitation instead of abundance. It's like, what are you not giving me, instead of what more can I give you?
What more can I do?
I think it's just a shift in mindset, honestly.
It's powerful.
Because if our focus is on anything other than that, we're just not moving forward. We're not we're not expanding. We're just we're contracting. And
it's limiting is what it does. It actually limits what's possible, for sure. And that's where having somebody on your team and having those people that get you into that perspective mode or into the observation mode on what's going on, and then the mission answers the question, because the mission should answer all questions, right? When things are good, it answers questions. When things are bad, it answers all questions. And when we can articulate that to our people in a way that our people now articulate that to our clients who we love, nothing but good things can happen.
I know this is like 100% of people feel that way. And I feel like a little differently about it. So I'm probably wrong, but this is how I run my life. I really believe that it's about the vision, and that everybody has to have their own mission inside of them. Like, I don't even believe in having people buy in to the mission. And because most companies' mission is like a mission statement, right? But if you really understand the power of the vision, you will generate. This is how I feel about branding too, honestly, but that's another conversation. If you really understand the vision, then everyone that comes around you is going to create their own internal mission of why they are connected to your vision. Does that make sense? So just like with branding is not the logo. You don't create your brand. I just don't believe that. A lot of people, I mean, I've paid people way too much money to tell me I'm wrong, but I believe I'm right. So
no, I don't think you're wrong. And I don't think there is a right or wrong. It's what's right for those people in that, and the people in that organization. I would offer to you that it's kind of give an example. Like if you're working with a company or for a company and they make widgets, well, let's just say that they make widgets that have nothing to do with anything, but their product line is a widget. But what they really do is they feed starving people in some third world country. And your core value is around, maybe your family is from that country, or you have some kind of connection with starving people, homeless people, or the greater good around what that company is doing. Say, hey, we have this vision of building our company here to here, but what we really do, what business we're really in, is creating shelter, creating food, creating better lives for, thousands of people that you couldn't do on your own unless you're aligned with my company mission.
Well, we're conflicting over semantics. So to me, the vision is the big picture, which is I'm changing the world. To me, that's
true. I see.
And so what my goal is as a business owner is to have this vision really clearly visualized, imaged, and to inspire each individual to connect with their own mission, reason for being there.
So,
and a lot of
just
people
there a different way.
A lot of people use those two words. And I mean, I do training on this, like, here's your vision and mission. So I guess what I've seen is a lot of people everyone has their own idea of what that is. And some people use it interchangeably.
Sure.
And because of the company that I just launched and my thinking around that, I think I spend a lot of time thinking about this. And it's really like, how are we interacting every moment of every day with every person that we interact with? And that comes out of just being like, who are you? Right. And there's all this challenge around, well, how do we train? How do we motivate? How do we get that helping hospitality heart within each individual. Well, I'm just telling you, that's how you do it. You
Right.
let them be who they are, let them create their mission for their life, and then show them the vision. And they will
That's beautiful. Yep.
fulfill themselves and
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So that's just how I frame it in my own mind, because I think we get so tied into like the theory of it all.
Yeah.
You know, it's like with branding, and this is, I'll shut up after this. But I maybe that's a whole different conversation. I just think the people are going to tell you what your brand is,
Sure.
not you.
And
You're
you
not
decide what you stand for and what you stand against, right?
Well, sure. Okay. That's okay. Yeah. Which could be, I mean, again, like we just have different connotations for all these words. So yeah, you decide what your vision is.
Right.
But you can't say, here's my logo, here's my name, here's my beautiful building and everything.
No,
That's not your brand.
not your brand.
Right? Your
Nothing to
brand,
do with it.
yeah. You're going to
I
find
think
out what your brand is, and then you're going to, well, this is a very long conversation. So anyway, I'll just
it's just
stop.
funny. It's funny from your perspective. I mean, we're talking about the same thing, just about just getting there differently. That's all it is. And that's what, but the most important part of it, I think, is that we fill our people up, who then in turn fill our clients up.
Yes. Well, and
That's the
and
most,
that means starting with you, which means you have to go back to vision. I just
yeah,
seriously think like, yes, and it's always about knowing who you are and what the vision is, and allowing yourself to be that
yeah.
without getting caught up in all the weeds, you know? That's
And I'll tell
probably
you,
the hardest thing.
from the business owners that I deal with and coach, and the ones that start out, there's a lot that don't get, you and I take it for granted because we're in environments that do this. But Michelle, I'm here to tell you, a lot of companies, a lot of people, there's people that are going into business right now that, because of other reasons other than what we just said, are going into business and needs to be more kind of, I don't want to say wrangled in or centered, but kind of reminded that this is what's really most important about building your company.
Well,
I mean,
that's why they can hire us.
that's exactly right.
And if they don't see it, you know, and I really feel like I only will work with people now who see that they don't see. Like you
Yeah,
have to be humble enough to say, okay, I don't know what I don't know, and maybe you know something I don't know.
that's right.
And we know, I mean, it's like such a part of me that I know. You just know when you know, just like 2 + 2 is 4. You know, some people are really, really good at numbers or whatever.
Yeah.
I still think 2 + 2 is a million, but you know, that's just my optimism. Yeah, so I know, I hear what you're saying, and it is true. I live within this, and you tend to then meet more and more people who just understand that.
Right.
And I think more and more people do.
Well, and there is the world of I know, where I know this is not a new concept, but then there's the question of, okay, are you doing it? Is it really within you to do it? And that's what I think we're there for, is to guide and ask those questions about what's important. Because what I think you should do in your hospitality business doesn't matter in the grand scheme of it. It's that vision and what is ultimately going, that you see for your company. That's ultimately what happens.
Yes, there's definitely a danger with knowing it all.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm saying I know it intrinsically, and this is why I can serve and why people pay me or pay you or whatever.
Sure.
But there you that idea of what you're saying is knowing it and doing it. I mean, um that's where the fun lies and the magic, honestly.
For sure.
And that's personal growth.
Oh my God.
That's that's like, how do I actually get up and go to the gym instead of having it on my calendar, which by the way, I've been doing every single day. I'm feeling so
Love
much
it.
better.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you kind of get in that, you just have to keep until all of a sudden you're like, you're just like, oh, I'm back in the flow of it. And the same is true with hospitality or anything being,
The hardest thing to do is put your sneakers on. That's the hardest thing to
yeah,
do, is put your sneakers on. Once you got your sneakers on, you're already in motion, right? It's not that it's simple, but it's basic, and we all need that coach there to help and remind us. So this has been awesome. I do have another appointment that I have to.
yeah, I know this is
jump in.
crazy. We've been going out, like we talked for over an hour before. Okay, so and I haven't been summoned, which is crazy. All right, so Pete,
Yes.
this has been very unique. And we had a really great conversation before this that we've basically been talking for like 2 hours almost. So everyone, I hope that this was beneficial for all of you, and would love to hear feedback on what you do to appreciate yourself, hold to your vision. What do you think about mission? Like, we covered a lot of stuff.
For sure.
Any comments? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, for sure. Until next time. We'll see you next time.
Okay, see you then.